Okay, so imagine this. Whispers, running feet, then suddenly C-R-R-R-C-K. That sound just drops you right into the middle of something intense, doesn't it?
It really does. And that's where we're jumping in today, into a period of, well, huge upheaval for a character you probably know very well.
We're talking about Harry Potter,
Yeah.
specifically focusing on a really tough time for him, set against this backdrop of rising danger.
Yeah, we're pulling from Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, the fifth book. We're looking at a sequence of events that honestly changes everything for Harry.
Exactly. It starts with this completely unexpected attack, then moves through these secret meetings, loads of suspicion, and this slow reveal of a much bigger conflict.
So our mission here is to sort of unpack these moments, get under the skin of the tension Harry's feeling, and see how it all connects, how it shapes his path forward.
Let's start right at the beginning of that, the Dementor attack. A little whinging. I mean, talk about unexpected.
Totally unexpected. In his supposedly safe Muggle suburbia, it's jarring.
And Harry whips out the Patronus Charm, his big defensive spell, but even that almost fails him.
Right. Which kind of shows how vulnerable he is, even with powerful magic. He's under immense pressure.
And Dudley's reaction afterwards, as if you'd never be happy again.
Yeah.
It's such a simple but chilling description of what Dementors do.
It really grounds the horror of it, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
not just a magical threat. It's about losing hope, losing joy itself. A kind of emotional death.
And that feeling, that sort of oppression, is like a metaphor for what's slowly happening in the wider wizarding world, too, you know?
Absolutely. This isn't just random. It signals that the dark forces, Voldemort's influence, it's escalating. It's reaching right into Harry's sanctuary.
And then you get the Dursleys. Oh, boy. Predictable, but awful.
Their fear isn't for Harry, is it? It's just pure terror of magic.
Exactly. Uncle Vernon's shouting, the accusations.
Mm.
It just isolates Harry even more, right? When you probably needs, I don't know, someone, anyone.
Definitely. That lack of support at home, the constant denial and fear, it must just amplify everything he's going through internally.
And bam, the consequences hit immediately. Owls arriving nonstop.
Yeah, and not with messages of support, are they? It's news of his expulsion from Hogwarts. Just like that.
It's so fast. Attack, expulsion. His whole world is being flipped upside down, and he feels completely powerless against it.
Which sets the stage for the next bit, the rescue.
Right. Suddenly, this group of wizards shows up. Lupin, Tonks, Moody Mad-Eye, of course. Time to get Harry out of there.
That broomstick ride to London, though, after being stuck at the Dursleys, feeling miserable and trapped, that must have felt incredible.
Like a sudden rush of freedom. But also, where are they even going? What's waiting for him?
Exactly. Freedom mixed with a whole lot of uncertainty.
And the destination is Grimmauld Place. Number 12. Which is, well, it's not exactly cheerful, is it?
No, it's got this heavy, dark, kind of decaying vibe. The old black family house, full of history, secrets.
It feels like the house itself reflects the order, doesn't it? This
Yeah.
hidden, secret resistance working from the shadows.
Perfect analogy. It's the physical embodiment of this clandestine war they're fighting.
But then, amidst all that gloom, he sees Ron and Hermione.
Yes. The reunion, their relief and excitement, it's pure friendship. But Harry, he's not having it.
He's been kept completely in the dark all summer. And he finally just lets rip, doesn't he?
Yeah, that outburst is so raw. He's listing everything he's faced, dragons, sphinxes, seeing Voldemort return, and he's furious they're treating him like a kid.
Understandably, they're trying to protect him, but the secrecy is just making him feel more isolated and angry.
Which leads us right into understanding the group hiding him, the Order of the Phoenix.
Operating out of Grimmauld Place.
Yeah.
And we immediately see some interesting dynamics.
Especially with Mrs. Weasley. She's fiercely protective of Harry. Maybe too protective.
Yeah, and her clashing with Sirius about how much Harry should know or be involved. She seems worried Sirius is being reckless, like James Potter was maybe.
Exactly. There's that fear of history repeating, of Sirius putting Harry in danger because of his own, impulsive nature or his past.
And Sirius offers some insight, too, about Voldemort, how he gets followers.
Right. It's not just about power. It's trickery, blackmail, playing on people's fears and prejudices. It shows Voldemort's more cunning, more strategic than maybe they realized.
It paints a picture of a much more insidious enemy, doesn't it? Not just brute force.
Definitely. And speaking of prejudice, Creature.
Ugh. Creature, the house elf. He's just dripping with resentment and that whole pure-blood mania.
He really embodies that dangerous ideology, the blood traitor stuff. And his loyalty is, well, questionable, isn't it? To anyone but the old black family ideals.
He's like a constant simmering problem right there in the headquarters. A potential weak spot.
A huge potential vulnerability. Okay, so from the secrets of Grimmauld Place, we're suddenly thrust into the very formal, very public Ministry of Magic.
Yeah, for Harry's disciplinary hearing. That journey there with Mr. Weasley, though, is a nice little moment.
His fascination with Muggle stuff, the tube barriers. It's charming, a bit of light relief.
A reminder of that gap between the worlds, maybe. How wizards sometimes dismiss Muggle things.
Perhaps. But then they arrive at the Ministry, and the atmosphere shifts completely.
Oh, yeah. Tension, suspicion. You can feel it. And the hearing itself, for underage magic, it feels like it's not really about the magic, is it?
Not at all. It feels political. It's clear the Ministry, especially Fudge, is in deep denial about Voldemort. They want to shut Harry and Dumbledore up.
And Fudge is presiding. That seems biased.
Extremely. You've got Dumbledore there, calm as ever, Fudge pushing his agenda, Madame Bones, who seems sharp and fair.
And Umbridge, just sitting there taking notes, all pink and seemingly harmless. But we know better.
We certainly do. And then Mrs. Figg, Harry's squib neighbor, turns up as a witness.
That was unexpected. Her testimony about the Dementors is crucial.
Absolutely. And watching Fudge try to discredit her, the seemingly ordinary old lady, it just shows how desperate he is to control the narrative. Confirmation bias in action.
Dumbledore's defense, though, he handles it masterfully. He doesn't shout, but his points just dismantle Fudge's position.
He's brilliant. He's not just defending Harry on the charge, he's defending the truth that the Ministry is trying so hard to bury.
So Harry gets cleared. Acquitted.
Yeah.
Which feels like a win.
A small win, yes. But you can tell the battle for hearts and minds. Convincing people Voldemort is back, that's far from over. The Ministry is still deeply skeptical.
Okay, so he's cleared. He can go back to Hogwarts. Phew. But then
Dolores Umbridge arrives as the new defense against the dark arts teacher, sent by the Ministry.
just hearing her little him cough makes my skin crawl.
Right. She is the Ministry's control extending right into the school. She's there to suppress dissent and force the party line.
And her idea of teaching defense, reading theory, no practical magic allowed.
It's utterly absurd and dangerous. She's actively stopping them from learning how to defend themselves against the very real threats out there.
It's Hermione, naturally, who calls it out first, points out how ridiculous and inadequate it is.
Of course. Hermione sees the danger immediately, and her speaking up is important. It shows the students aren't just going to accept this.
Which leads directly to Dumbledore's army, the DA.
Yes, the secret defense group. They decide if the Ministry won't teach them, they'll teach themselves.
I love the initiative. Finding the room of requirement, keeping it secret, recruiting members. It's proper rebellion.
It's students taking action because the adults in charge are failing them. It shows real resilience.
But Umbridge isn't stupid. She clamps down hard with Educational Decree number 24.
Banning all student groups, clubs, teams, unless she approves them personally, which means no DA, obviously.
It's pure authoritarianism, stifling any kind of independent thought or action.
And the surveillance starts ramping up, doesn't it? Umbridge is reading Harry's mail. Hermione thinks she hexed Hedwig.
It creates this atmosphere of paranoia. You can't trust anyone. Communication is risky. It's chilling.
Even things like Quidditch get messed up. Harry's banned. Angelina's team is struggling.
Right. Umbridge's influence just poisons everything. And the tension between Harry and Cho Chang gets worse too, partly because of Umbridge, partly the Cedric stuff.
Yeah, the pressure affects relationships, normal school life, everything. It shows how these larger political forces impact personal lives.
While all this is happening at Hogwarts, Hagrid finally comes back.
Yeah, looking pretty beat up and very cagey about where he's been.
But the trio figures it out pretty quickly, don't they? He went to see the Giants.
On Dumbledore's orders, trying to get them on their side, or at least stop them joining Voldemort, another part of Dumbledore's wider strategy.
But Hagrid being back puts him right in Umbridge's firing line. She's scrutinizing his lessons, looking for any excuse.
And eventually, he knows he's going to be sacked, so he has to leave.
Yeah.
But not before telling Harry and Hermione his big secret.
Grubb, his giant half-brother, hiding in the Forbidden Forest. And he asks them to look after him.
Yeah. Talk about adding another massive responsibility onto their shoulders. It shows Hagrid's trust, but wow, what a burden.
At all this time, Harry's having these dreams, these visions, getting worse, more disturbing.
Culminating in that terrifying vision of the snake attacking Mr. Weasley, which turns out to be real.
Showing the connection to Voldemort's mind is getting stronger, more dangerous. Which is why Dumbledore insists on the occupancy lessons with Snape.
Ugh, those lessons. They're just awful, aren't they? So much animosity between them. Harry feels like they're making things worse, not better, weakening his mind.
It feels like a violation. And maybe Snape's methods, or just their mutual hatred, makes it ineffective.
It certainly seems that way. And then, as if things went bad enough, the news breaks. Mass breakout from Azkaban. Death Eaters are loose.
Including Bellatrix Lestrange. The fear level just skyrockets everywhere. Rumors flying around Hogwarts.
And Umbridge uses that fear, that chaos, to seize even more power. She gets appointed Hogwarts Eye Inquisitor.
Basically giving her total control over the school, inspections, firing teachers. Game over for any resistance, it seems.
It feels incredibly bleak at that point, which pushes us towards the climax.
The Department of Mysteries. It all comes together here. Harry's visions focus on a door, a hallway.
And Hermione makes that connection. Voldemort might be planting these visions, luring Harry, just like he used Ginny with the diary in second year.
But Harry sees Sirius being tortured there. He's convinced it's real. He has to go. Loyalty over logic, maybe.
Absolutely. His love for Sirius overrides everything else. He can't risk it being true.
So he gathers the troops. Ron, Hermione, Ginny, Neville, Luna. They fly to London, to the Ministry.
It feels desperate, kind of reckless. Teenagers heading into the heart of the Ministry to fight Death Eaters.
And the Ministry is empty, deserted, eerie. Then they find the Department of Mysteries. This weird, confusing place.
Rotating rooms, endless doors, shelves full of these glowing orbs, prophecies. It's disorienting like a maze.
And then they find it, the prophecy with Harry's name on it, and the trap is sprung.
Death Eaters appear. Lucius Malfoy, Bellatrix Lestrange looking utterly unhinged. They want the prophecy.
The confrontation is intense. They're cornered, outnumbered.
And then the fight breaks out. Spells flying everywhere. Chaos in the prophecy room.
Hermione gets hit badly. Neville, too, his wand breaks. It looks hopeless.
Until the order arrives. Sirius, Lupin, Moody, Tonks, Kingsley. Finally, backup.
There's this brief moment of hope, seeing Sirius fighting alongside Harry.
And then, tragedy. Bellatrix hits Sirius with a spell. He falls back through that archway, that veil, and he's gone.
Gone. It's sudden, shocking, and absolutely devastating.
The impact on Harry is immediate and profound. Pure grief turning into uncontrollable rage.
He goes after Bellatrix, tries to use an unforgivable curse.
And then Voldemort himself appears, right there in the Ministry atrium.
That's the moment, isn't it? The denial has to end now.
Especially when Dumbledore arrives and they have that epic duel. Wizards, Ministry officials, Fudge himself, they all see Voldemort. They can't deny it any longer.
The Daily Prophet finally reports it. Voldemort's back. The truth is out.
But at such a terrible cost, Sirius is dead.
Afterwards, back in Dumbledore's office, comes the hardest part, the explanation.
Dumbledore finally tells Harry about the prophecy. The reason Voldemort marked him as an equal. Neither can live while the other survives.
That weight. To hear that, after everything, that his destiny is so fatally intertwined with Voldemort's, it's huge.
And Dumbledore admits his mistakes, his reasons for keeping it secret, trying to protect Harry, give him a childhood, but regretting it now.
It's a heavy conversation, full of grief and regret and this massive burden of knowledge.
And then that final bitter twist, Creature's role.
He didn't directly betray Sirius, but he fed information to Narcissa Malfoy, Bellatrix's sister, twisted things to make Harry believe Sirius was captured, because Sirius had been so awful to him.
It's a grim lesson in how treating others, even those you despise, can have unforeseen tragic consequences. Neglect and cruelty coming back to bite them.
Wow. So looking back at this whole period, this whole book, really,
Yeah.
what are the big takeaways for you?
I mean, it's a massive turning point, isn't it? Harry faces loss on a scale he hasn't before. He's forced to grow up incredibly fast, take on this huge responsibility.
And he learns about that deep, inescapable connection to Voldemort. Plus, we see the Ministry completely fail. Politically motivated denial causing huge problems.
Exactly. The dangers of institutions refusing to face uncomfortable truths.
And the aha moment for me, thinking about it now, is seeing how it all connects. That seemingly random Dementor attack wasn't random at all. It set everything in motion.
Right. It was the first domino, leading to Umbridge, the DA, the Visions, and ultimately the Department of Mysteries. It shows Voldemort playing a longer game.
And the prophecy just adds this whole layer of destiny, or maybe doom, hanging over everything Harry does from now on.
Absolutely. So for you listening, think about how this resonates. How do we cope when threats are rising, when misinformation is flying around? which feels very relevant today, doesn't it?
Definitely. And how people form alliances, find strength in each other, even when authorities are failing them. Harry's story here is packed with lessons about truth, denial, and resilience.
Yeah, the importance of questioning things, thinking critically, and acting collectively when you see injustice or denial.
So here's something to chew on. Now, Harry knows the prophecy. He knows it's basically him or Voldemort in the end. How does that change him?
How does that knowledge shape his choices moving forward? What does it mean for the war that's now undeniably out in the open?
And what other sacrifices are going to be demanded? Because you
Yeah.
just know, after this, the journey's only going to get tougher.
It certainly is far from over.